Hello and welcome. I'm April with the Love and Loss Project, and I'm here today with Kierra Taplin, who is the founder and director of the Healing Footprints program. So I came across Kierra's work on Instagram where I happened to see this post that she had made where she was talking about some work that she was doing with baby garments for lost little ones to help provide that kind of support to the families. And I just thought that was so amazing. And I just felt so inspired at that moment to reach out to her. So I actually sent an email to her right then and there. And I was like, we need to chat. And so she was gracious enough to come on and spend some time with us today. And so I thought that this would be a great opportunity just to hear and share a little bit more about the work that you're doing, because I think it looks like you're doing some incredible things. So I'd love to hear more about it. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if you can just kind of share with us a bit about your story and how Healing Footprints came to be.
As April mentioned, again, my name is Kierra Taplin. I'm founder and executive director of Healing Footprints Foundation. And what we are is an organization that supports families who have experienced infant loss. We tend to focus on families who have experienced a live birth and their newborn passed away within the first year. Usually, our families' infants don't make it out of the NICU. And I started this organization from personal experience. Actually, in 2006, my husband and I experienced the loss of our very first son. It was my first pregnancy. We were only married 6 months when this occurred. So it was just total devastation. It was my first pregnancy. It was the first grandson for my parents. And I went into around 6 months, I started having issues and my son stopped growing. And my doctor placed me on bed rest. And there were no official causes of his issues. However, at 26 weeks, I had to have an emergency C section. And he was born at 14 ounces, which is the tiniest of babies imaginable. He was perfect. He had 10 fingers, 10 toes. His body, all his body parts were there. However, his skin was somewhat translucent because he was so small. But it was like, I don't know how to describe it. If you can imagine 14 ounces, it's like a can of vegetables. But I mean, we can hold him in the palm of our hand, but he was a complete body. However, he was just too small. And he did survive for 7 long days, which in itself is a miracle. However, after 7 days, he passed away, and we were devastated. We didn't know what to do, and I don't mean just what to do emotionally, but the process itself. Could we have a burial? Could we have a memorial? Who actually pays for it? Did our life insurance cover it? Did our medical insurance cover it? We honestly had no clue of what to do, and at that time, there weren't many resources available. The suggestion that we received from the hospital staff was take the yellow pages, look under funeral services, and call some of the organizations available. Yeah, that may sound great, but that's not what we wanted to hear at that point. We really wanted some guidance, which is what was driving me in starting the organization, was to help families find some guidance and to be someone's yellow pages, to be a point of contact of resources of what you can do, what your responsibilities are, and not just that, to actually help families. We do give financial assistance for families. We help with burial expenses. We help with headstone purchases. And as April mentioned, we also provide angel gowns, which is the burial garments that the infants wear. They're tiny. I have the most one of my most vivid memories of my experience is the process of deciding what to bury my son in. He was 14 ounces, as I stated, so he was extremely small. So what I did, I actually purchased a little girl's purse out of Toys R Us. There was um, a teddy bear hanging on the side of the purse. I actually purchased the purse and took the clothes off the teddy bear and used it to bury my son. I was desperate. I had to do something because everything in the store was too big for him. So that's one of the hurdles that was very emotional. However, we want to help families overcome that hurdle. So that's in a nutshell the bulk of what we do. And one more thing, we also pair families with grief counseling, not just general grief counseling, but grief counseling that focuses on infant loss.
I think that's amazing. I think that's
Yes.
amazing because really the last thing that parents want to do when they lose a little one is have to go to a store and stand in
Yes.
line
Yes.
and I absolutely, even from my own experience, I absolutely know that this is totally overwhelming.
It is.
And that was one of the things that inspired me to start doing the work that I was doing as well, because I found that, even though some of my medical team were absolutely lovely, they had
Hmm.
nothing to offer me.
Right. Right.
Their kind of, resource was Google as well. That was kind of
Hmm.
what they had, in
Yes.
hand. And you're like, oh, so there's so many overwhelming pieces. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I noticed on your Instagram, when I was checking that out a little bit more, that one of the things that you talk about a fair bit is that idea of what not to say to parents who've
Yes.
lost a little one. And I was just wondering what makes that feel important for you to really talk about.
It actually was the common denominator when I first started working with families. A lot of them had common stories of what sent them into depression, or someone would say, well, I was told to just go off and have more babies, and it
Mm-hmm.
crushed me. Or, and it became a common theme of everyone who loved us, who supported us, said all of the wrong things. And I wanted to not just tell the stories of families who have lost, but also educate the people who support and love us on the type of support that we need. No, I don't want to have another baby. I want the baby that I just lost. Yes, I understand everything happens for a reason, but why did this have to happen to me? There's this God has a plan. Yes, God has a plan, but why was taking my baby a part of the plan? So it I know that our supporters mean well. We know that they're not trying to hurt us, but I mean, the families that I've worked with, they've heard some of the most hurtful things. A lot I've heard myself, but then others, I'm like, how could someone possibly say that? Or, some things are kind of mean spirited, or, oh, you're young. If you're young, you can have more babies. It's just not that easy. What if I've been trying for 6 years to have a baby and suddenly I lost my baby? So it's not just that easy. Even for us, after we lost our son, I didn't have my second baby until 7 years later. So it's not as easy to just, go in and have another baby. So there was this common theme of things that we just don't want to hear, that cause us further grief. It causes
Mm-hmm.
more pain, and it also isolates us because we feel like we can't talk to anyone. Oh, they don't understand, or they don't want to hear it. Because after, let's say, 2 years, then, or in some cases 3 months, we get, oh, you haven't moved on yet. You're still talking about your baby. But when your mother dies, when your grandmother dies, no one says, oh, get over it, or you can go find another grandmother. We respect that type of grief. So I think we want to respect the grief of not just infant loss, but pregnancy loss. We had the same, we hear a lot of the same stories around miscarriage. Well, you were only pregnant for 3 weeks. You really don't know that baby. It was only 3 months. There was no connection. As soon as you get that positive pregnancy test, I'm a mother. I start to dream about my child. I start to imagine what his or her life will be like. So I become a mother as soon as I get a positive pregnancy test, and everyone just needs to respect that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's
Yes.
such an important point. And sorry, Karen, just noticing that the mic is kind of making a little bit of noise. So I might just get you
Oh,
to
is
kind
it?
of pop it out. Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
But I think that really is, and that's one of the things that I really, so I ended up developing a little bit of a toolkit to help people with some of that because it was just something that I heard from people and my own experience, of course, time and time and time again is that I think, oftentimes people have good intentions,
Yes.
but this is such a taboo topic in our
Mm-hmm.
culture
Mm-hmm.
that I've kind of come to believe that when people say, I used to think that when people say, oh, I don't know what to say, that was kind of just a cop out.
Cop out. Yes.
And I've kind of become, convinced that part of that is is true. That I think that there
Mm-hmm.
is a genuine piece of I don't know what to say, and then in
Mm-hmm.
our kind of rush or uncomfortable that we want to fill that space, I think people end up kind of blurting out things or saying
Yes.
things that
Mm-hmm.
you would never say to a woman who had just lost her husband,
Right.
or you would never say to someone who lost their sixth grader. You would
Mm-hmm.
never even think along that line
Yes.
of the stuff that becomes dismissive. So,
And I also found a lot of the feedback was not just from families who've experienced loss, but the supporters who will say, "Oh, I've said that and I didn't realize that it was painful." So I think, which is probably why I spent so much time on that particular project, and I probably should revisit it at this point, is that it really was helpful. People did learn things not to say, and that silence, and as much as it's appreciated, it could be just as painful because there's this awkwardness of I don't know what to say, so let me just not say anything. So
mm-hmm,
then it becomes you're not acknowledging that my son or daughter was actually here, that I was actually pregnant, that I gave birth. So silence, in as much as it is appreciated at times, we also have to be careful that we have to acknowledge that it did take place.
yeah, there's a very fine line between silence and distance
Yes,
because
yes,
that can feel like a very, very lonely,
yes,
lonely
extremely lonely.
place.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Okay. So, can I ask, what's been kind of a favorite quote or a favorite idea that's helped you just to kind of continue to do what you do and to continue to move forward in the way that you have?
When I started this journey with the organization, I was, I think, 4 years after my loss, and it was Mother's Day 2012, and it was by far the worst Mother's Day I had ever had. I was physically alone. I was in New York City working at the time. So I was away from my husband, away from my family, and I didn't just feel physically alone. I was alone in my spirit. I was alone in my emotions. I felt like no one understood. And it was actually on that day that I decided to help others. I'm thinking, well, if I help someone else, maybe I'll start to feel better. And that's what started me on this journey. And of course, the more I helped people, the more people who would ask for assistance, they wanted to hear my story. Well, how did you make it? And what helped you? So that became the theme of my work, that all things, and I am a woman of faith, and I believe that all things work together. As painful as my experience was, as heartbreaking as it was, I now today find much joy in my experience. I can't articulate the gratitude and the fulfillment that I get when I help someone and they're excited that we were able to donate $1,200 to the burial of their child, and they're excited about it, and that brings me great joy. So I fully believe that in my pain that I found purpose, and I truly understand now today, because I can admit I did not believe it 10 years ago. I was in deep pain, I was devastated. So there was no understanding that this could somehow become a good thing, but I now understand that this entire journey was a small piece of me being of service to others. And it's a lot easier to get firsthand information, to speak from personal experience versus what I heard or what someone else told me. So for that reason, I firmly believe that all things work together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yes.
and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to speak to you because I really wanted to just showcase some of the different ways, and I don't think there's a right or wrong way, but some of the different
Yes.
ways the parents are taking their love for their little one
Mhm.
and are managing to hang on to that and do something with it, which I
Yes.
think is, can take a lot of different forms. But I think there is a reclaiming of our role of our child's mother
Oh,
when we
yes.
find a
Yes.
way to hang on to that and own it,
Yes.
whatever
Yes.
that looks like, whatever tiny or big way that looks like,
Mhm.
that I think that can be such an important piece to
Yes.
find a way to
And I
own
like
it.
to explain it as my healing journey. I can remember when I made the transition from grieving to healing. Healing in itself is a journey. It's not this destination. You don't just wake up one day and you're healed and you move on with your life. That's not it. Healing in itself is a journey. And that has been my experience. And I try to help families heal, get beyond the point of coping where people say, "Oh, just stay busy." Well, you don't want to stay busy. You need to embrace your journey. And that's my focus, which is one of the reasons we tend to focus on healing, because we want to expose our families to that part of the journey that you can get beyond the excruciating pain or not understanding how you feel and not being able to express and articulate how you feel. That's all a part of your healing journey, and we want to support that part of the process.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that is so amazing that the work that you're doing and offering that to more people, because I think that is so powerful.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
If I can ask, how has having Colby, that's your son's name, right?
Yes, yes.
How has having him changed you? How are you a different person through this?
I'm more compassionate. I'm more selfless. I've always, I want to believe, had a servant's heart, so I've always wanted to give to others. But he made me want to give in the deepest form. I don't think I've ever hugged as many strangers as I as I do now, and I've somehow discovered the the healing power of a hug, where I can hug someone and they'll break down and cry, and I just know that that's my son who gives me that power and that love. So that's one of the amazing ways that he's changed me. I've grown a love for babies. I was not that parent who felt like, oh, I need to have a baby or I love kids. I was not that woman. And somehow he turned me into that woman. Oh, now I love babies and I just want to hug on them. So he definitely changed my life in that way. And I must say he gave me purpose. I before him, I thought my goal in life was to be an IT manager and work on computers and sit in front of a computer all day. But now I have divine purpose, and I'm grateful that I had 7 days with him to experience that love.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing. Very
Yeah.
cool. So, for the moms and dads who are listening to this or watching this, what is it that you would most want them to know today?
I would want them to know that they will survive, that get up every day, as painful as it may be, as confusing as it may be, get up. Embrace your journey. Don't sit in the corner. Don't lay in the dark for too long. I understand there are days. There are days that I don't, still 10 years later, there are days that I don't want to discuss it, that I don't want to be bothered. Take that time. Be honest about how you're feeling, which is the good part about finding a support system like our organizations, is that there's this freedom and there's this platform for you to express how you're feeling, as confusing as it may be, as painful as it may be, as crazy, quote unquote, as some of our thoughts may be. Share it. Don't keep it bottled up inside. Find someone to talk to, be it a friend, family, a grief counselor, a pastor at your church. Find someone to talk to that you can speak freely about how you're feeling, and take it one breath at a time. That's how I got to this point. I would breathe one breath at a time, one breath at a time. And one day, it got easier. I could walk a little faster. I started putting on makeup again. I felt a little pep. My smile got a little brighter. So just take it one breath at a time, one breath at a time, and you will survive. You will survive.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I really could not agree more because I think that there just is that reality that when grief hits us,
Mhm.
we are in that tornado, right? There are
Yes, yes.
times and there's a period where it is just so much bigger than we are.
Yes,
And
yes.
and I definitely get the idea of using distraction to sometimes kind of get us through some of the hard parts.
Mm-hmm.
But I really love how you highlight that that can't be the only tool in the toolbox for us.
Yes, yes.
That this loss really is so worthy of our
Mm-hmm.
time and our
Yes,
attention
yes.
and our care and our healing is
Mm-hmm.
worthy. And there is so much, in some ways, to be found in that
Yes,
darkness when we let
yes.
ourselves move through it.
And we owe it to our babies. I had a mother who reached out to the organization about 3 weeks ago, and well, maybe a little longer, but she experienced her loss 35 years ago. When she actually called me early one morning, and she reached out to the organization. She found us online, and she said to me, she said, I woke up this morning and I felt like I just lost my son. And
Mm-hmm.
we're talking 35 years. She had three other kids, and she never acknowledged her loss from 35 years
Yeah.
ago. I can't imagine carrying that kind of pain for 35 years. So
Yes.
so I feel like our healing, our babies deserve it. Not just the babies that we lost, but the babies that we have that are living. You can't really be present for your family, and you're grieving from the baby that you lost. So you owe it to all of those people as well as yourself to heal, to acknowledge it.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I could not agree more. So I'm a therapist by trade. So I'd been doing this
Mhm.
work for about 10 years before I actually lost my little one, doing private practice
Mhm.
and therapy work with people. And when I went through my experience of loss, that was one of the things that my work had taught me was that
Mhm.
you don't outrun this stuff forever.
Yes. Yes. No.
Eventually, this stuff catches up with us.
Yes.
So I had
Yes.
felt fortunate that I had witnessed that in so many other people's journey, that I had that information front and center to
Mhm.
be able to say to myself, I either deal with this now, I
Yes.
give myself the time and
Yes.
space that my heart and this experience deserves, or it's just going to catch up with me later, anyways. And it can
Mhm.
feel so big and so scary to kind of lean into that pool, right? To
Yes.
kind of just
Yes.
move into that space and own it. But I think it
Mhm.
is a powerful and necessary place to be. And I think it's harder later. I think it,
Yes. I agree.
yeah. And
Your point of it being scary, I think, is extremely important because that was my experience. I was terrified. And I think that may be why so many people shy away from it because it's scary.
yeah,
And you really have to face your pain and the effect the pain has on your life, how you really feel about the pain, that guilt. For a while, I felt guilty because I thought my hot showers caused the issues with my pregnancy because I used to take long hot showers. So there was
mm-hmm,
this guilt that I
mm-hmm.
didn't want to face, that it was my fault. But I didn't understand and start to heal until I faced those dark places.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that honesty around that too, because I had some of the same thoughts. I was like, maybe my
Yes.
baths were too hot.
Yes.
And maybe I somehow did not take enough vitamins before my
Uh-huh.
pregnancy. And,
Yes,
we
yes,
do
yes.
all of these crazy making kind of thoughts. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's so important that in some ways we kind of let ourselves go there. And I
Yes.
think in some ways that idea that I'm going to kind of somehow be able to sidestep, or that the scariness is just too big.
Mm-hmm.
My own thoughts are, and I don't know what your thoughts are, I think that's a bit of an illusion because I think
Yeah.
in some ways you are already dealing with the hard
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
You are already in that
Mm-hmm.
place. You
Mm-hmm.
just really are. And I think in some ways, for me, I tend to believe that really, if you're at this point, if you're watching this video, you've already made it through the very worst of this.
Yes.
You have
Yes.
already made it through the very worst parts. The
Yes.
next part is the opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
grow and to heal and to move through this in some way that works for you.
And also, I think experiencing this shows us that we're a lot stronger than we ever imagined. My husband and I often pull from our experience losing our son when we're faced with a hard time. We're like, but we survived losing
Mm-hmm.
our firstborn son. We can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I pull from that often. I'm like, I know I can handle it. I can survive it because I survived the most devastating thing I ever thought imaginable. So if you're watching this, you're definitely a lot stronger than you ever imagined. So, like I said, just take it one breath at a time. Keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. You can survive this.
So cool. I
Yes.
completely agree. I completely agree. And so, can I ask, how do people find you? How do people support you? How do people find out what you're doing and where you are?
So we do have a website, healingfootprints.com. On the website, you'll find out information about the organization, the services that we offer. There's a blog that I started that became my space for sharing my thoughts and a lot of the issues that come up, especially concerning my son, who's now 3. It's interesting that dynamic of having a living son as well as an angel. So I decided to blog, not as frequently as I originally planned, but that is available. I am on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. S and we are on Amazon Smile. We did join Amazon Smile. So for all of you Amazon shoppers, select Healing Footprints as your organization for where Amazon will make a donation to our charity. And those are some of the best ways to locate us.
Very cool. Okay, and I'll put the links when I share this video as well so that people can find you and support the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
So, thank you so much, Kierra, for spending this time with me. And I'm so happy to be able to just share some of the work that you're doing because I think it is amazing. And,
Yes.
I've really become a big advocate of the idea that we have to get the love out. That,
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things that we lose when we lose our child is we lose that
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to share that love.
Yes.
And so I've been, really passionate about the idea of helping to kind of explore that idea and introduce people to how other people are doing that in your life. So when
Yes.
I saw your work, I was like, oh, that is it in action for sure.
Yes, and thank you for all the work that you're doing, this platform, the exposure. I believe the more there's healing in sharing our stories, the more stories we tell, the more people we reach, the more people who come out of the woodworks who want to share their stories. So for that I'm grateful. Thank you so much for taking a look on my Instagram. I honestly didn't realize that anyone was looking.
I
So thank you.
did.
Yeah. So thank you so much for that. Thank you so. Social media is extremely effective, but it's so time consuming. So I'm trying to increase my social media activity. So I'm glad to learn that because when you first told me that, I'm like, geez, so Instagram really works. So I'm excited about that. Yes. So
Cool.
thank you.
Very cool. Thank you so much. So you can check out more about Kierra and the Healing Footprints Foundation and, of course, the Love and Loss Project at my site, www.lovelossproject.com. And if you found this interview useful and if you know somebody that might need this dose of comfort and support and connection, then please share this video and help to break some of the silence surrounding baby loss. So thank you, and I will see you next time. Take care.
Bye bye.